Hi, my name is Ilene Rein. I'm an executive recruiter and a job search strategist at Pounding Pavement 101. I am here with my superstar client who just landed another dream job because she's been through the program
Yes.
once before. So, Mikaela, please tell us what your degree was in. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I went to school for biomedical engineering. And then after that, I struggled to find a job. It was the middle of the pandemic, and I was really lost because I thought I'm an engineer, I'm competent, I'm communicative, and I'm not landing anything. That's which is really tough. That's not what you expect when you go to school for such a practical degree, you know?
Especially engineering school. That is not an easy degree to get, especially biomedical engineering, which is just such a huge field right now.
hmm
So you were searching for a long time. How long was it before you took the teaching job?
Right. My first job out of school was teaching. So um I would say that it was let's take like my graduation date until the teaching job I started. So that would have been May of 2022 until September of 2023. So about a year and a half. And my senior year, I was also looking for work, but I don't know if you want to count that or not. So you could throw an extra year in there if you want, right? Of like, a lot of people are looking for a role as their graduation date is coming or upcoming. And that was not, but admittedly, that wasn't very serious, the more casual browsing and then like very intentionally looking from about May of 2022 until September of 2023 when I started I was teaching at a charter school because in my state you don't have to have you just have to have a college degree to be a teacher. So I was a substitute teacher at a charter school.
Yeah, you
Um,
really fell into this teaching position because that was not the goal.
Absolutely not. It was just, like a lot of people work a job that their family member knows. Like my mom was an educator her whole career, and she was like, "Well, I'm aware of this job that will basically take anyone with a degree." So, which at the time that was the best I could do. Like I can't knock any shame on that, and I don't want to sound that as like disrespect to educators. It's an important job.
Oh, I
It
give them
just
credit. They have probably the hardest job on the planet.
Oh,
Seriously.
absolutely. It was so difficult. And so not only was it like this difficult job, but compared to many of my peers in that role, like many of them did go to school to be educators and they were just starting their first job and all of us were struggling, It's yeah, it's really tough to be a teacher these days, and like you said, every respect to them. It just was not it was not something that I ever set out to do. So then to find yourself in this extremely demanding role that you also are like, I didn't really want to be here. Like, you can
Well,
imagine how that would
and if
feel.
you really fell into it, okay, because you were substitute
Right.
teaching just to bring in some money,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and then they needed a science teacher.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Very quick growth out of the substitute role. Then they put me in a full-time classroom, which coincidentally ended up working out that they were like, well, we need a biology teacher. You have this degree. Would you be a fit? And I was like, sure. Like, I'll do that. So, yeah.
And
So
you
I
did
was,
it, but it
mhm,
wasn't the goal. It wasn't exactly what you wanted to do. And that's when we started
exactly.
working together.
hmm
But I know that you were hesitant to work with me.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? Because yeah, there's a lot of things going on out there, and you could do the job search yourself, but it was taking 2.5, 3 years already to get you the job that you really wanted. So what were your thoughts? What finally convinced you?
Yeah, what was like you said, when you're in that job search zone, you really understand it, Eileen. You feel really desperate. You're like, obviously nobody's like chasing you with a knife, but you feel scared for your life at times. You're like, I can't earn income. Like that's so fundamental. That is so fundamental. And you also hear a lot of people that like we've talked about are just not they're taking advantage of that vulnerability. So when you're
Yeah.
in a vulnerable position, you're aware of, the potential, I don't want to call it scams if they think that they're really offering advice, but like I knew that I'm like, this is not necessarily helpful. And I thought of myself as someone that's like competent, that was
Yeah.
I went to school with a bunch of engineers, and I'll be the first to tell you that I know that for an engineer, I'm pretty outgoing. I do networking, I make eye contact, I stay on topic. I but it's something that I didn't ever think of myself as somebody that would like be struggling in that way. So it was difficult. I was aware that obviously I was unsuccessful. Like the data spoke for itself. It's like you went to school to be an engineer, you're not an engineer. Clearly, I'm not doing it right. Like, sorry, like clearly something is going on here. So I knew that I needed help, but like we said, when you look for help, you're like, do I believe any of this? So a lot of your video testimonials um were really helpful in explaining to me the value of the program, and so that was why I was like, well, we have to make one, of course. And also the many appeals or explanations that you have, like it just really explains to the job seeker that like you get it, like you understand what's going on. And there's so many, and everyone who's gone through your program says, oh yeah, it works, like it does work. Like she knows what she's selling. Like she knows it works. So that, over time I was like, I especially like not just your own materials, but then also at that time with the end of the school year approaching, you know they did like me at the school. It wasn't
What's not
that
to like?
yeah, and I mean, even to this day, I still am friends with many of my former colleagues, and they're like, "You want to come back?" And I'm like, no, thank you. But uh, with the end of the school year approaching, contracts for the new year were coming out. And sorry, my camera's moving.
That's okay.
I thought, yeah, I thought like I cannot do this another year. I did it one academic year. At that time, you're like, by the time winter rolls around, I'm like, okay, it's a semester. Let's see it through, I guess.
Oh,
But
I give those teachers credit because, many years in doing this. But again, that wasn't your goal.
exactly,
And
it just wasn't the goal.
and the longer you're in that pathway, the harder it's going to be to get back to the place that you really wanted to be in the first place.
I agree. Yeah. So at the end of that role, I was thinking to myself, I think we had started to work together at that time, but I was like, you know, I may have to do some other job that I kind of don't want, just to give something else a whirl. Another big thing in my area is like insurance sales, or like I had, even at that time I was like, do I go get an apprenticeship to be like an electrician or something? Like, do I have to pivot altogether? Is this just not for me? Like, what am I not understanding? So but yeah, so around the end of the school year, we had started to work together, which I believe was like one of the last days in May at that time. I think we had connected before that, but with how demanding the academic year was, I was like, and then I have this big break coming up. Why don't we just like kind of wait? So I think preceding like the end of May, we had been sending we'd been working on my materials back and forth and like that kind of thing. And then we didn't really start the program until the end of the school year, as I recall.
How was this different? Okay, because you had just graduated college 3 years before.
Hmm.
How was it different than your college career services department?
Well, you actually responded to emails.
Okay, that's a good thing. Yes, when you're asking for advice, you need it in real time.
Yes, yeah, my college career services, it's difficult because every time you talk to them, it's a different person,
Hmm.
and all of them have different, they don't even have like they don't even have a consistent messaging. It's I think they're trying to be helpful. Like I don't think anyone was doing anything that they didn't really believe. But yeah, I was working with people who were shaming me that my LinkedIn wasn't good enough when they didn't have one themselves.
Hmm.
They didn't even because, Eileen, you'll get on people about having a LinkedIn, and you can provide 10 easy examples with a clear, this is what I'm looking for. So that's a world of different. Yeah, my college career services, I very quickly learned, okay, these people aren't helpful. So I would actually say more of what I was working off of was like free online resources. Um, and you say it yourself, you talk to 30 recruiters, you'll get 33 different answers. I don't know that any one of them was incorrect or correct. It was about like the consistency of your program and how like flexible it is for the different styles of recruiters. Because that was actually a comment I used to get on my materials a lot, was like some people really liked it or really hated it. And actually now when I walk into interviews, nobody comments really on the format of my resume. They're only talking about the content, which is the goal, is that it like, all of the details and the nitty-gritty that you're super familiar with, I don't even have to discuss. We're just here to discuss my experience and my career and how I'm a fit for the role. And it's a huge burden that I just don't have to overcome, these other noises in the limited time that I have with a potential hiring manager, right?
It's very different because the resume, the
Mhm.
LinkedIn profile, the job is to generate calls. So it doesn't
Mhm.
matter if we think it's good or bad. If it's not doing its job of generating calls, then we've got to change things up.
Yeah.
But you were getting calls, then we went into interview prep.
Hmm.
How is this different? Because you said, okay, there's YouTube videos with generic advice, and I'm sure your college career services department runs mock interviews, or they gave you a pamphlet of these are questions.
Hmm.
Was this different, and did it help you through that process?
Yeah, I think I remember telling you this, you say, "Oh, I can help prepare you for about 70% of what you can expect, and your own experience will, kind of lead you to that whole package." And I don't know if you remember me saying, "I disagree with you. Actually, you prepared me for 100% of interview questions," because at that time I'd been on so many interviews that I was like, "No, this is we've prepared for about 100%." And especially what I think people who don't dedicate their lives to trying to get a job, something that especially people that like are jumping back into that sphere. I had a friend who, yeah, was at a company for like 20 years, laid off, and then had to re-interview for a new position at that same company if they wanted to maintain their tenure. And she was asking me about what is the star method. And I'm like, yeah, so big companies will have this rubric and you have to answer questions in this format to hit the rubric. But it's like small things like that you'll find answers. Like it's not that only Eileen knows about the star method of interview questions. It's that you do know though, like what the rubric looks like. If you're
Yeah.
not a recruiter, I really don't. I just know that I'm tasked with this thing. But through our conversation, you're like, okay, this is how we're going to navigate it, and this is kind of what, like, if you say this is what they hear. It kind of felt like that movie, I forget the name of it, where it's like
It's just it's translating, and why the
Mhm.
program's working so well is because I am a recruiter and a job search strategist. So I work both sides of the fence. And I've been there as a
Mhm.
job seeker before in the
um
past. So I kind of see the full field. But then we went into a strategic job searching plan. And it really
mhm.
kind of focused you as to how to do this, how to job search. And most people, the first thing they do is they say, okay, Eileen, I need a resume. Yes, you do.
You do.
But if you don't know how to take it out for a drive, you're going to be
Mhm.
the best kept secret in town.
Yeah, and you're so correct. The resume is the goal is not to have a good resume. The goal is to get a good job. So when you start thinking in the like all of these things are tools, all the conversations
Hmm.
are like that's it's different. And your materials are so accessible that you know as we move along my timeline, we'll get there. I'll let you lead us there, but right.
Well, and it worked for you because I was checking out the stats, and this is from a year and a half ago because
Hmm.
you came back because I taught you everything, and now you
Hmm.
were able to apply it a second time. The first time after 3 years of job searching, it was
Hmm.
49 days to a
Hmm.
job. Okay, I
Yeah.
checked all the statistics. So 49 days of job searching versus 3 years. If we had started beforehand, just think of how much money you could have had in the bank.
Yeah. Well, not just money, but I mean, even like early career, I think about
Yeah.
how many, missed opportunities there were. Because there's a lot of early career roles where they're specifically looking for somebody within those first couple of years. They don't want somebody who got their degree, did something else for 5 years and are coming back. There's a lot of opportunity for new graduates, especially those like
Yeah.
a lot of those really big companies. They'll that was always something that I wanted that I just because I waited all that time, like that door was closed to me. But there's a lot of companies who will like they'll have like an entry level engineers program and they'll work you at like 3 sites, like one a year to get like, more of a gambit and you can't turn back the clock. There's always new opportunities out there. But if I could like talk to somebody who was in my position at that time, I would say, do not wait. Like you're just do not wait. You're only losing time here. But it's, especially when you think about like all the money that you put in to get a degree, how expensive a degree
Yeah.
is. It's like this is, invest in your career. You've already invested this much. So like land the plane, seal the deal. Like right?
This is that last step. This is the last step to launch into the career that you've worked so hard all these years. So all the schooling, all the tests, the pop quizzes, the late nights, the the SAT prep, the college exams. This is the last step, the last push to
Yeah.
get you to where you need to be. And then you were able to apply all this information on your own the second time.
Hmm.
And that's what I tell people. Once I teach it to you, yes, you can come back to me, happy to work and answer any additional questions, but you're able to have this information for the rest of your career.
Yeah, correct. And I think that like investing in a program like this early career, it only becomes more valuable over time, right? Like because okay, I was able to apply this to my first and second job, but this information it does not expire. It doesn't knowledge doesn't expire. It's this is yeah, so I like after I'd been at that after teaching, I had a job for, about a year and a half and the last, few months I was there thought, it's probably time to for a new change and then now as we're speaking I'll be starting very soon at another company that is like ultimately where I really wanted to end up I think so yeah it was really nice that I was still able to reach out with like small negotiating questions or whatever at the time that that second offer came in.
So, for all the people who are watching this,
Hmm.
do you recommend this program? Was it worth it to go through it?
Yes, absolutely. And not only was it worth it, I'm very confident at this point in time, I could not have achieved these results with my own method as I was doing it. I'm just really confident that I could not. Because I did try for many years. I
Yeah.
did,
And you are
right?
too smart, too intelligent, too good at what you do that
Hmm.
to be held back. And these were those secrets that you needed.
They are. Yeah,
Michaela,
yeah,
tell
go ahead.
me, what is your new title going to be at your new job?
Oh, well, I'm going to be a manufacturing engineer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Michaela, thank you so much for doing this. You are inspiring to all the job seekers who are out there who are struggling right now, especially with massive layoffs happening. You've still
Hmm.
landed a phenomenal job.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you're so correct. There's obviously a lot of motion in the job market, but that doesn't mean that you can't experience some of that positive motion, you know?
It can happen. I guarantee you it can happen. You're living proof of it.
Hmm.
Michaela, thank you so much for doing this. My name is Ilene Rein. I'm an executive recruiter and a job search strategist with Pounding Pavement 101.